Lebanon stands at a crossroad amid escalating U.S. pressure and Israel's continued occupation of 5 southern outposts. Hezbollah's Naim Qassem delivers a defined message. Disarmament is surrender and sovereignty is non-negotiable. With Washington demanding a formal commitment of the Lebanese cabinet to disarm Hezbollah before any Israeli withdrawal, Beirut faces an ultimatum. Qassem warns that behind calls for disarmament lies an Israeli project cloaked in diplomacy, and the weapons, he insists, are Lebanon's shield, not a threat to the state, but its last line of defense against annexation of occupied Lebanese territories. As ceasefire violations mount and reconstruction stalls, tensions simmer as Lebanon stands at a crossroad. And for Hezbollah, this is not just about arms, it's about existence. And I'm Salma El-Fiki, and welcome to Think Tank.
Our world is becoming unhinged.
The Emirati newspaper, The National, has reported that Lebanon stands at a historic crossroad. President Joseph Aoun has boldly called for the state to monopolize the use of force, urging political leaders to seize this pivotal moment to bring all weapons under state control, primarily targeting Hezbollah's arsenal. Framed as a path to sovereignty and international trust, his proposal demands the army's exclusive authority over national defense. And backed by a U.S.-backed initiative, Aoun seeks a cabinet commitment to disarm Hezbollah in exchange for an end to Israeli airstrikes and withdrawal from occupied southern outposts. The plan includes $1 billion in annual military aid and an international donors conference for reconstruction, positioning security and revival as intertwined national imperatives. Yet, deep divisions loom. While Aoun emphasizes state authority and prisoner releases, Hezbollah rejects disarmament under pressure, viewing its arms as essential to resistance. With a fragile cabinet set to deliberate, Lebanon faces not just a policy decision, but an existential choice: unity through statehood or fragmentation through continued parallel powers. And according to the Palestine Chronicle, Hezbollah's leader, Naim Qassem, has delivered a defiant message. Disarmament under pressure is surrender to Israel. And rejecting U.S. and Israeli demands, he asserts that the resistance arms are Lebanon's shield and not a threat to its sovereignty. Qassem frames the crisis as existential resistance versus surrender. He exposes the American pressure as a tool to serve Israeli expansion, warning that disarmament paves the way for occupation. True dialogue, he insists, must follow Israeli withdrawal, not precede it. For Hezbollah, weapons and statehood are intertwined, and the trinity of army, people, and resistance remains its foundation. As Lebanon rebuilds, Qassem calls for unity, liberate the land, restore dignity, and never bow to foreign dictate. The path forward is clear: sovereignty or servitude. And Lebanon stands at a pivotal crossroad, not of war, but of choice. A cabinet decision looms, and pressured by Washington's ultimatum, disarm Hezbollah or risk isolation. This isn't just about weapons, it's about sovereignty, survival, and the soul of the state.
Is Lebanon facing a defining moment in its history? A single cabinet decision could now determine whether the country steps back from the brink or plunges deeper into crisis. The U.S. is demanding an official commitment from Lebanon's government to disarm Hezbollah, A precondition, Washington says, for halting Israeli airstrikes and securing the withdrawal of Israeli forces from 5 occupied points in the south. Hezbollah's Deputy Secretary General Naim Qassem delivers a defined response. Anyone demanding the surrender of weapons serves the Israeli project. For Hezbollah, the arms are not up for negotiations, and certainly not in exchange for what it calls empty promises. Since the November 2024 ceasefire, Israel has violated the agreement over 3,700 times, according to Lebanese authorities. Qassem insists we implemented the deal south of the Litani. Israel did not. The continued occupation, he warns, is not tactical, but a step toward annexation. Now the pressure shifts to Beirut. The U.S. insists no cabinet vote to disarm Hezbollah, no further talks. It's a high-stakes ultimatum, framing Hezbollah as the obstacle to peace, while critics call it blatant interference in Lebanon's sovereignty. Domestically, voices like Samir Gaga demand the state reclaim its monopoly on force. But Hezbollah insists the path of resistance and the path of state building are separate and both non-negotiable. The future of Lebanon's stability and the fate of any settlement now hinges on one decision. Will the state choose sovereignty over arms, or will the arms define the state? This is the crossroads, and the clock is ticking.
And providing more analysis about the most recent updates concerning the situation in Lebanon and the discernment of Hezbollah's debate. Joining us from Pennsylvania today is Mr. Malik Francis, political analyst, and from Beirut, Dr. Taqiyuddin El-Tanir, the retired brigadier general, military expert, and strategic researcher. Welcome, gentlemen, to Think Tank, and thank you so much for joining me today. Let me start with Mr. Francis. Do you think, sir, the U.S. demand for a cabinet vote on Hezbollah's disarmament exposes the contradiction between Lebanon's sovereignty and its dependence on the American aid?
As you know, that Lebanon has been a victim of its location in the Middle East, and our neighbors have been using Lebanese territory to settle their own problems. And the Lebanese government is unable to disarm Hezbollah by force. Therefore, I hope that the leaders of Lebanon will sit down and have a dialogue about the future of Hezbollah arms and the future of Lebanon. United States, unfortunately, has been run by Netanyahu. President Trump is like a servant to the Israeli government and is unable to make his own decision in regards to the American interest in Lebanon and the Middle East. Therefore, I hope that Hezbollah leaders will think about the future of Lebanon, because Hezbollah proved that he's unable to defend Lebanon from Israeli aggressions. And as you know, and everybody knows, that Israel is not fighting Hezbollah by itself. You have United States behind the Israelis. The Trump administration has been supplying Israel with missiles, with money, and it defends Israel at United Nations and at any international conference. So therefore, Lebanon is a victim and cannot and will be unable to disarm Hezbollah by force. Dialogue is the only solution for Lebanon and the Lebanese people.
Dr. El-Tanir, given Israel's ongoing airstrikes and ground presence at the 5 points, do you think does Qassem's warning of settlement expansion reflect a credible military threat or just a strategic deterrence?
Actually, Israel will not withdraw from the 5 points because they are controlling all South Lebanon, while all 3 strips in these points that's expanding day by day to be areas and not points. And I think, as our respectable guest said, really now there is a big, as we said, a big escalation of political pressure in Lebanon, because they are calling for a meeting of cabinet on Tuesday in order to discuss the arms of Hezbollah. And as you know, and all others know, that there is not one opinion during these all components of Lebanese citizens for that issue. So I think these things will cause more and more problems inside the Lebanese territories and inside the political situation, and maybe some ministers will resign from the government or stop their meetings, and it will cause more pressure of escalation in order to be violence here and there. I think Israel now is playing a very big role in Lebanon in order to make it fear and troubles again, and accusing us that we are responsible for all what happens and we cannot disarm Hezbollah from their weapons. It's really a very big trouble and very dangerous issue now. We face it alone with America, which play double role, the opponent and at the same time the judge. As you know, they asked us, the envoy to the Middle East, Mr. Thomas Farag, he said clearly after meeting with Prime Minister, there is no guarantees that Israel will withdraw. There is no guarantees that Israel will attack or strikes or bombing Lebanese territories and areas.
Okay.
And really
let me move to Mr. Francis. With Hezbollah branding disarmament as to be serving the Israeli project, do you think can Lebanon realistically achieve national unity when its leadership is split between those two who see Hezbollah as a shield and others who view it as a state within a state?
Unfortunately, as everyone is aware, that the Lebanese leaders have been divided over the issues of Hezbollah and the Palestinian question. And Lebanon cannot be built without the unity of the Lebanese leaders and the Lebanese people. Unfortunately, the Lebanese leaders who have destroyed Lebanon since 1975, were involved in the civil war, cannot rebuild because they only know destruction. With due respect to some of them who are too honest, I hope that they will get together with the Lebanese president, because Lebanon has a golden opportunity to work with a good and honest Lebanese president, Joseph Aoun, and the Prime Minister, Judge Nawaf Salam, who are really very patriotic, and they have a mission to rebuild what the others have destroyed. Hezbollah will not disarm or deliver its weapons to the Lebanese government by force. Dialogue is the only solution. And other Lebanese leaders who are complaining now about Hezbollah arms or the Iranian involvement in Lebanon must first work for Lebanon, not for foreign embassies. As you are aware, most of the Lebanese leaders are agents of foreign government, and I hate to say it, but that's the truth. They have to be loyal to Lebanon first. In order to be loyal, they must, and I say, they must work for the interests of Lebanon, yes, not the interests of Iran or Saudi Arabia or Qatar or United Arab Emirates. Lebanon should come first.
Yep.
And if Lebanon doesn't come first, there will be no peace in Lebanon. And in order to have peace and tranquility in Lebanon and the Middle East, we need to solve the Israeli-Palestinian issues.
Yes.
And United States and Iran must sign a nuclear agreement before anything happens in the Middle East.
Okay, Dr. El Tanir, is the so-called trinity of army, people, and resistance posing a direct challenge to the Lebanese government's efforts to establish a monopoly on the possession of arms?
As a matter of fact, as you know, at the election of the president, Joseph Aoun, on the oath speech, he talked about that. He talked about the monopoly of arms, and only under the control of Lebanese armed forces and the legal forces too, not more. And even in the statement of government or policy government, they mentioned that too. Today, as you know, tomorrow will be the anniversary of Lebanese Armed Forces, the anniversary.
Oh, okay.
He said that he will discuss with the government on Tuesday what happened with him, with the envoy to Lebanon, Mr. Thomas Barak, about his suggestions and what he told him, and all the components will listen to that. I hope, I don't know exactly what will happen in that meeting at cabinet on Tuesday by the presence of President Aoun, but I hope that, as our friend said, that Lebanese interest must be first.
Must come first.
We are not going to suicide. We are not going to suicide because really it's enough for Lebanese what they suffer since a long time from destroying and killing and moving from one place to another.
Mr. Francis, with Israel openly maintaining its hold on 5 southern outposts, do you think is Washington establishing an equivalence between Hezbollah's disarmament and Israel's violation of the Lebanese sovereignty?
As I said before, the Trump administration is a hostage of the Israeli government. The Israeli lobby is very powerful, and they decide the policy of the United States and Lebanon and the Middle East. Therefore, Mr. Trump is unable to fulfill his promises by bringing peace to Lebanon and other part of the world. He claimed last week that he stopped the war in 7 nations. I don't know where are the 7 nations. Are they in Mars or on the moon or somewhere else? I am still really struggling with understanding Mr. Trump. Israel controls the Middle East. No one would dare, unfortunately, to stop the Israeli aggression. Drones are flown 24 hours above the Lebanon and the Lebanese skies, Syrian skies, all over, and no one would dare to shoot any of them. I was in Lebanon for 2 months. I spoke to many Lebanese leaders and to the people of Lebanon. All of them want peace, but they cannot accomplish peace unless they are united and working for the interests of Lebanon, not the interests of foreign embassies in Lebanon. Therefore, I urge them, and I did urge them when I was in Lebanon, to work for the people of Lebanon, to work for peace, because the people of Lebanon cannot afford to live in a state of war since 1969, since the Cairo Agreement was signed, forcing the Lebanese government to allow the PLO to fight the Israelis from Lebanese territory.
Okay. Dr. El-Tanir, can Lebanon realistically pursue state building while under external pressure to disarm Hezbollah, which may endanger Lebanese internal stability, don't you think?
Mrs. Khalil, let me tell you frankly something else, and I will go back to your question. It's a very nice question.
Sure, go ahead.
First of all, nobody can give us any peace that without Hezbollah will be disarmed and hand out of any kind of hope. That's first. How can we rebuilding again? And you know our political and economical situation and what happened to us since a long time. So without handout of weapons of Hezbollah, nobody can help us or support us with any kind of political or economical support.
Okay, sure. Would you like to answer the question, Dr. El-Tanir? Do you want me to repeat it again?
Yes, what I want. Excuse me?
Yes. Do you want me to repeat the question? Because you were just talking to Mr. Francis. Do you want me to now? Are you going to answer the question at the moment?
No, I would like to tell you something very important about the strategic of America in the Middle East and for Israel.
Okay.
The Secretary of State, Mrs. Hillary Clinton, said it was very clear, without any doubt, that our main strategy in Middle East is to keep the superiority of Israel among all the Middle East by their military forces. And I will say more now, not only by the Middle East, but also on the whole region, including Iran and Turkey. So it was very clear for that. And as I told you before, America playing double role in Lebanon and in everywhere relating to Israel. They are playing the role of the opponent and the judge at the same time, and I think it doesn't work. But now, unfortunately, we are in a weak point. We are the weakness part in that negotiation, and we must look what's the interest of Lebanon.
Yes,
we cannot carry
absolutely. Let me get back to then Mr. Francis. Would you like to comment on Dr. El-Tanir's what he was just saying? Because I think he was commenting on you before that.
Unfortunately, I did not hear your guest speaker, Dr. Taqiyuddin, because the voice was not too clear.
Let me move on then. Let me just ask you the question, Mr. Francis. Does the American ultimatum risk transforming Lebanon into a battleground of global influence rather than a state exercising sovereign choice?
Unfortunately, the U.S. has been using Lebanon for a war zone for others. In the 70s, the war was between the Soviet Union, its allies, and the United States and its allies. Then it changed to Palestinian Lebanese, then to Lebanese Syrian, and now to Lebanese Israelis. And Israel is the enemy. We have to understand that Israel is the enemy and does not really care too much about the population of the Middle East or Palestine or Syria. And Israel is not a friend of the Arab nations. And I blame the Gulf Arab states and everyone who does have a diplomatic relationship. They must cut the relationship with the Israelis, who are the enemies, in order to force the war criminal Netanyahu to sit down on the table and negotiate peace. And first, the war must be stopped in Gaza. People are starving, children are dying, and the whole world, it doesn't care about the starvation of the Palestinian people.
Yes.
And I don't blame really the Americans, the Israelis, because Israel is the enemy. I blame the Arab leaders who have relationship with the Israelis, the enemies, because they destroyed Gaza, killing everyone, destroyed south of Lebanon, and now they are destroying Syria. Unfortunately, the Israelis are trying to revive the Kissinger plan of 1973 by destroying Lebanon in order to make peace in the Middle East, giving south of Lebanon to Palestinians, north of Lebanon to Syria instead of the Golan Heights. It's not going to happen because Kissinger and others tried to implement it. It was not really successful. Therefore, the Israelis are wasting their time. Lebanon will be Lebanon forever in spite of the problems we are having. The Lebanese people...
Let me ask Dr. El-Tanir now, how does Hezbollah's compliance south of the Litani contrast with Israel's non-withdrawal? And what does this mean for trust in any future agreement, in your opinion, sir?
According to Lebanese army, they said that 90% behind the south of Litani River, it's clear and under the whole control of Lebanese army. What about north of Litani River? That's the problem now, and that's what we are going to do with the government and other opinions about the components of the Lebanese and the parties, what they will say about the disarmed Hezbollah from that area. And not only Hezbollah, all parties which still have weapons from 1990s and before, from Lebanese Civil War, 1975.
Okay, Mr. Francis, coming back to you again, how do Qassem's statement of a unified Lebanese stance against Barak's demands reflect the limits of the U.S. leverage in Beirut? I mean, is the $1 billion U.S. military aid proposal a lifeline for Lebanon or just a tool to buy control over its defense policy, do you think?
The United States have not been a good ally of Lebanon because it does not supply the Lebanese army with the equipments in order to defend its territory. The U.S., as I said, does what the Israeli lobby wants it to do. Therefore, United States is losing its interest in Lebanon, the Middle East, and all over the world. And our President Trump unfortunately, he's not really working for the interest of United States. As long as the Gulf nations give him trillions, what should he care about Lebanon, Syria, or Palestine, or Egypt, or any other nations? He does whatever the Israelis want him to do, and the Gulf state could change the policy of United States in the Middle East. Unfortunately, the sheiks and the princes and the kings, whatever, they only care about their own interests. There is no Arab unity. We need a united Arab League, but it's not going to happen because every Arab nation, especially the Gulf states, the Crown Prince in Saudi Arabia, every one of them wants to speak for the Arabs.
Dr. Tanir, now that you mentioned the role of we have the League of Arab States. What do you think is the role at the moment regarding all of these issues? As you're just mentioning that you wanted to have a united Arab, we do have an existing Arab League, don't we? Does it have any impact? Is it
no, it does
forcing
not.
any action at the moment?
No, unfortunately, the Arab League is very ineffective because it doesn't have Arab unity. The Arabs are divided, and the Arab League has done nothing since its inception, because the civil war in Lebanon was going on since 1973. Look, the war in Sudan, in Syria, and Libya, and the Arab League has done nothing. We need a strong Arab League. If the Arab, especially the Gulf states with Saudi Arabia, do unite in order to bring peace to Arab nations and help. The $5 trillion that the Arab Gulf states and Saudi Arabia gave to Trump could have a paradise in the Middle East. But unfortunately, they are doing whatever President Trump tells them to do. Yeah. And they are working with due respect to all of them. The Arab nations should become first before the interest of any other nations. And if they cannot send a loaf of bread to Gaza, we have problems in the Middle East. We have too many problems. People are starving. Are they sleeping? Are not watching TVs? Are not seeing the videos? Are not hearing the cries of the Palestinian children who are starved to death by the Israelis?
By the distribution aid centers. Dr. El Tanir, is the current ceasefire a frozen conflict or a prelude to renewed war, especially with Israel admitting hundreds of violations? Can you hear me, sir? Dr. El Tanir, can you hear me? Okay, we've lost Dr. Tanir. Okay, we're back again to Dr. El Tanir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Is the current ceasefire a frozen conflict, do you think, at the moment, or just a prelude to renewed war, especially with Israel admitting hundreds of violations at the moment?
I think it's not a stable ceasefire, and it never be stable. As you mentioned before, 3,700 violation, 300 people died, 1,200 injured, and thousands of houses and apartments collapsed and destroyed. It's not a ceasefire at all. It's a ceasefire, but in general, Israel can also violate every time, any moment, by land, by air, and by marine. Unfortunately, that's really what happened. I'm afraid that in the next few days or weeks, they will make more pressure on the Lebanese government and on president in order to make a handout of weapons from Hezbollah by striking again with more force. I'm afraid.
Okay. Mr. Francis, according to your assessment, in your opinion, is the U.S. proposal a path to stability or to civil war?
Unfortunately, the way President Trump has been acting and behaving with our allies and our friends, his policy is not working anywhere. And it will not help the Lebanese people or Lebanese nation, because he sent an envoy who is ignorant of history of Lebanon and the history of the Middle East. Mr. Tom Barak is of Lebanese descent, but it seems that he doesn't know anything about the history of Lebanon and the history of the region and the history of the Arab-Israeli conflict. I believe Steve Woodcock is more, I think, aware of what's going on in that part of the world. Therefore, I don't believe that by bullying the Lebanese government, you could achieve peace in Lebanon and disarm Hezbollah, the Palestinian militias within the Palestinian camps. Even the Syrian refugees have arms now. You have about 2 million Syrian refugees, maybe more. You have the Palestinian refugees, you have others. So how are you going to bring peace by forcing the Lebanese government to disarm all of them? And as we know, the Lebanese government is unable to disarm all of them. As I said before, dialogue is the only solution for the Lebanese crisis.
Yes. Well, and that was Mr. Malik Francis, the political analyst, and Dr. Taqiyuddin El-Tanir, the retired brigadier general, a military expert and strategic researcher. Thank you so much, both gentlemen, for your special insights and this valuable discussion. A nation at ordeal. Sovereignty hangs in the balance. Hezbollah meets major test. And Lebanon's fate rests on a choice between submission and survival. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of Think Tank, which always unveils the complexities of our changing world. And thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates on Qnews.